So I'm Jen Balgi, and I'm brand new at the Literacy Council, so I really appreciate you coming today. This is sort of an experiment. We're trying to obviously encourage virtual tutoring. So I'm excited to share some of these techniques with you, and if you can use them, that's great, and I would love feedback. And if you can't, that's also important, and I want to know that too. So any feedback is good feedback in terms of this. So I hope that this is useful to you. And then also, if there's something that you, Jim Williams is here. I knew there was somebody else. All right. We're going to wait till he connects to audio, and then I'll get going again. Okay. Welcome, Jim. All right, I think we're all here now. So what I was saying is, if this is useful for you, please let me know. If it's not useful for you, that's also important for me to know. And then if there's something that you want to know more about, or that you have heard about that you'd like me to research and see if it could be a good tool, definitely share that with me as well. I put my contact information at the end of this, but I know you all have received emails from me, so you can always just reply to one of those as well. So I think we'll get started. Can everyone see the PowerPoint? You can just give me a thumbs up if your cameras are showing. Cool, awesome. George, I'm just going to take your word for it. Your camera's on, so I just think maybe you can see it. So I want to move this out of the way. Up here, okay. All right. Okay, so we're going to do introductions. And so I just want to know what your name is and how long you've been meeting with your learner. And if you don't want to turn your sound on and you know how to use the chat, you can do that. But if you don't know how to do that, we're going to learn later. So that's totally up to you. Who would like to go first?
Well, we'll go first. My name is Carol DeSalt. Some of you may know me already. I used to be the instructional specialist for the Literacy Council. And now, as a retired person, I'm looking forward to doing some tutoring. And this is my husband, Nick. I'll let him say more.
Hi. Before the pandemic, I tutored for maybe 6 years with a Hmong gentleman, and he was getting to the point where I couldn't help him that much more anymore. So this was a good time to stop, but I'm anxious to start up again.
Awesome. Yeah, I hope this will help you do that.
I'm Jim. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Jim.
And I'm a tutor for Not At All. I haven't started yet.
Yeah, Jim's coming to our training next week. All right.
Okay, I'm Ed Pers. I tutored, I guess I've been associated with this for maybe 3 years now or so. I had a couple students for a short period of time tutoring. Most recently, I was teaching the citizenship class at LTC, and was attempting to do that this year over Zoom remotely, and have not really nailed down to the students yet. So only had one class over Zoom. So hopefully I can learn all kinds of tips that I could use if and when that class does really take off.
Wonderful. We've got George. Oops. Wow. I went way far back. Okay. And George, do you want to share anything?
Oh, not really. How do I get on? I don't know.
You're doing great. We can hear you.
Okay. I've been tutoring one student for about 3 years.
Perfect.
We haven't done anything since COVID, since January of this year. And I'm anxious to get started again virtually.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you all so much for sharing. I know that sometimes, oh, Tabitha, you haven't gone yet.
Hi there. My name is Tabitha Steinbach. I am kind of in the same boat, I think, as Jim. I haven't started tutoring yet, but I've had an opportunity to substitute teach in the schools one or 2 days a week, and just excited. Last year, at the end of the year, I got to see a friend become a U.S. citizen. You know, that had been here for a while, but it was kind of a neat thing, and I heard that that was some people go through tutoring to get ready for that test and improve their English. So I thought this could be a really cool way to help people take that step.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the goals that people have. Great. Okay. So what you're going to learn today, why COVID-19 requires a new engagement lens, students and you, smartphones and computers, how we can do screenshots, a bunch of different video chatting services, a few different language learning apps, and then teaching tools and resources. And this is a very brief, but, you know, glossing over the surface. So like I said, if there's something that you want me to explain more or you want me to learn about and tell you more, just let me know. I'm happy to do that. So why we should consider virtual tutoring. I think, you know, transportation, childcare, winter driving, current events, COVID is definitely on the top of everyone's mind, ease of scheduling and health, of course. So, yeah. And then some of the barriers, motivation, anxiety about the unknown, ability to afford technology and the internet, prioritizing family needs over personal needs. And we're seeing this a lot where parents are overseeing their children's learning and kind of prioritizing that over their own. And then sort of this lack of sense of community and connection online. People are kind of scared. They've been duped before. One of my friends just this week paid hundreds of dollars for a puppy that didn't exist. So it happens to all of us. And then sort of that frustration of overcoming technical difficulties. It's really frustrating when you can't figure out what you're doing or how to do it. And so a lot of people just don't want to deal with it. And I totally understand that. So we're hoping to sort of overcome those barriers today and like be just as smiley as those tutors right there, even though they get to be in person. So we're going to do the chat box. We already introduced ourselves, but maybe if you have a concern about distance learning, you could share that. So I want everyone to try using the chat box on Zoom if you haven't used it before. And so it's going to be at the bottom of your screen here, and you can just press it. And if your Zoom is full screen, it'll pop up with a new window. And if it's not full screen, it'll open up at the side. So just let me know how we're doing here. All right, I sent a message to the chat, so you might have seen something. Perfect, Carol's got it. Yes, protecting schedules is important, for sure. Sometimes if your window is small, the chat will be in this section that says more, that'll be sort of near the end, and it'll be 3 dots. And you might have to click on that to open that up.
How do you actually, once you've typed it, how do you actually send it?
Oh, you can press enter.
Oh, just enter. Okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Cool. Thanks, guys. All right. You guys are doing great. You're already Zoom professionals. So, 7 skills of a proficient virtual tutor. So we're just going to take a look at these. So these are things that you could kind of have as a goal to do if you want a virtual tutor. So locating documents on your computer. So when you download documents from the internet, where do they end up and how can you find them and maybe organize them so they're easy to find for you in the future? Being able to send invites and enter your tutor session on Zoom or whatever video chatting system you're using. Being able to turn your camera and your microphone on. Being able to share and stop sharing your screen. Being able to use the annotate tool. So I'm going to show that right now. There's just a tool and it might not be available for you right now, but you can do this annotate tool and then you can do different stamps and things like that. So you can see there's a little blue arrow right here next to the 5. I use the annotate tool for that. And you can actually, even when you share your screen, select a whiteboard that you can use kind of to tutor your students in that way as well. There's a lot of different possibilities with Zoom, and we're not going to be able to cover all of them tonight. But if you want to learn more, I'm happy to go through it in a little more in depth. And then the thing to know about Zoom, which is kind of hard for me to remember, is that you have to clear it, because if you don't, so I'm going to go back on the screen here.
So how do you get it up there?
You press the annotate button, and then there's a toolbar that shows up. And you have to clear it off before. So I cleared all my drawings, and then you can X out of it and move on.
Down here.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you finding it all right?
We are now. Yep. We just had
Okay.
to look around a little bit.
Yeah, it kind of takes a little bit of experimenting. And if you want to experiment now, that's a great time to do it. Screenshots are another thing that's really important. It took me a really long time to figure out how to do it on a Windows computer, but once I learned how to do it, I used it all the time. And then for Mac users, we're going to go into that a little bit more. I have pictures that kind of show you how to do it. Great job, Ed, putting the chat mark on the screen. And then the last thing is sort of being able to attach an email document, because a lot of, if you're doing virtual tutoring, you're going to be wanting to sort of create that support system outside of your normal tutoring sessions so that you can keep that learning continuing between your sessions. And so that's going to require emailing documents to each other or having some way to do it. Awesome. We've got more check marks coming up. All right. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to clear all the drawings, and then I'm going to go to the next slide. There we go. Okay. So this is sort of this Zoom map to Zoom, and I will absolutely send this to you so you don't have to be taking tons of notes if you would rather just pay attention. And so on the right here, you're going to see a list of numbers with different categories. And then down here, you're going to see this toolbar down here that has the numbers above it. And I know you're probably thinking, that's not what my toolbar looks like, but that's because this is a host toolbar. So you'll see down here, we have the mute and start video. So those are things that you should have. Security, I believe, is something that only hosts have. And that sort of is talking about either having a waiting room, which is where you sort of are in this limbo before you get into the actual meeting, or you can have a password, your participants. So that's sort of seeing who is in your thing. And that's where you can change your name on Zoom, for example. The chat, the share screen, polling. So I'm going to show you an example of polling right now, and you're going to have to participate. So get ready for it. All right, there should be a poll showing up on your screen right now. And so I want you to answer the poll. And so you just have to select your answers, and then you can submit your poll. And I'll give you a few minutes to do this. So enjoy the time that you have.
That's mostly true for you too, because you use Zoom and Skype. We Skyped with Christine years ago when we were in Peru.
Okay. Also use the Google thing once. Event medical.
All right, so everyone voted, and now I can end the polling. So on my screen, I have a window that shows me how many of the attendees have voted and how many and when they're viewing the questions, and then I'll end the poll. And then what I can do is I can share the results with everyone. So I'm going to share those with you, and now you can see poll results as well. So 80% of us have Androids, 20% have iPhones, and then look down here, you can see that almost everyone has used Zoom. Somebody, this is their first time, very exciting. And then other people have used other kinds as well, which is really cool. So what you can do now to get this window to disappear is just click that X up in the corner. So we'll do that. And then the other things that you can do is you can record the session. So you can record the session and sort of, that way you can send it out to people, or you can refer back to it later. I'm not recording this session, but I'm going to record my next one because I thought that maybe I'd have some edits that I'd want to make after talking with all of you. So we'll see what next week is going to be like. And then closed captioning is available, but you have to type them out as they're being delivered out. And then there's breakout rooms, which is really helpful if you want to do small group work. And that's a little bit trickier. It's more of an advanced technique. And I believe that you have to have your participants register beforehand. So very much like how you had to register, I would be able to sort you into groups pre or before the meeting, and then I could just start them and you'd be pre-sorted. Or if I don't do that, I can put you in breakout rooms, but I'd have to do it on the spot. That seems a little bit stressful, so I'm not going to do that. And then this 11 here is to end the meeting. And when you're the host and you say end meeting, it'll ask if you want to end the meeting for all or if you want to just leave the meeting. So those are sort of the basics of Zoom. And there's lots of resources online for how to do this, and they can walk you through everything. And I'd be happy to do that too. I'm able to do screen recording. So if you want me to record me doing something like this, I'm happy to do that as well. All right, so I'm going to go to the next screen.
Are all of these features available on the basic Zoom, or is this the for purchase Zoom only?
This is the basic Zoom as well, as long as you're hosting the meeting. And to host the meeting, you need to have an account. So it can be a free account, but you do need to have an account in order to do it. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right. And, oh my gosh. Okay, so an important reminder. You can avoid a lot of frustration by making sure you have the latest Zoom update. This is a mistake I've made many times, and I think this actually goes for all software that you have. I find my phone will start acting up, and then I'll update it, and it'll be fine. So Zoom is no different, and I'm sure that any of these other video calling services are no different either. And so then updating Zoom. So these are the ways you update Zoom. On a Mac, you're going to go into the menu, and you're going to go to zoom.us, and then you can go down the menu to check for updates. And then in a PC, you're going to be in your Zoom window when you first log on, and you can click your profile in the upper right corner, and that's going to have your initials in it. It'll say, like mine says JB, and then you can scroll down that menu and check for updates. And this is another instance where if you need help navigating this, I'm more than happy to walk you through it one-on-one. And also there's videos and things online. Lots of resources exist that you can use to do that as well. Okay. So screenshots. So if you want to take a look at your keyboard, if you have a PC, you're going to want to look for this print screen button that's up on the upper right corner. That is how you can do a screenshot. And so you just simply press that button, and then it is copied to your clipboard. And so the clipboard is just this sort of like area of this cloud in your computer. And so from there, you can go into a Word document and you can paste it in there. A lot of times I will, if I'm doing like a picture or something, I'll put it in my MS Paint program, and you can crop it from there. And you can also put it into an email from that. But keep in mind that this is going to be your entire screen, so they'll be able to see everything that you're doing. And then on a Mac, you can also do the entire screen by doing Command Shift and then the number 3. So that'll be the entire screen. But you can also do just a clipped portion or a cropped portion of the screen by doing Command Shift 4. And that is one I use a lot on my personal computer, and I find that very useful. And that, in that case, will just save to your desktop. So that's where you can find your screenshot or your clipped portion of your screen. So if any of you want to give this a try, and if you have any troubles, you don't have to do it right now. But if you have any troubles sort of figuring out how to complete the process, let me know. So we're going to talk about some different video chatting services. So Google Hangouts is a great option if you have a Gmail account or are willing to get one. So you can go to hangouts.google.com, or when you're in your Gmail, you can click the grid that's up in the corner near your profile, and you can open Hangouts from there. And it'll bring you to a new screen. So I'm actually going to show you how to do this. I'm going to get out of this screen. I'm going to go up here. I have to drag this down. So you can see this is kind of the tough part about sharing your entire screen. Like you can see, I have all these tabs open, but that's okay. So I'm going into my Gmail right now. And this is the grid that I was talking about. So I just go right in here and I can click on that. And you can see there's Google Meet, which we're going to talk about. We're looking for Google Hangouts. So there it is. So it's this logo right here. So I'm clicking on that. And then I get into this screen. And so right now in this Sheboygan Literacy Council at gmail.com, I don't have any friends. So I can't call anybody. But I know that someday I will. And in that case, I go up here to new conversation and I can type their email, their phone number, or their name, and I can find them that way and send them a video call, a phone call, or simply a message, which is really useful. So that's how you use Google Hangouts. And
Jen, what's the difference between Google Meet and Google Hangout?
That's a really good question. So Google Hangouts is, I would say, it's more of like a casual thing. The benefit of Google Meet, which is here, we'll go back to Google Duo in a minute. Right? Oh yeah, so Google Meet, we can just go into that and take a look. So Google Meet is more of they made it more for professionals. It's got an unlimited time, which is really nice. I'm going to go back to this grid up here. And because I'm using Google Chrome, I can also click here and sometimes I can get things. But we're going to go here. We're going to, there's Google Duo, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Did I pass Meet? I think I did. There it is. All right, so here, and then you can enter in a new meeting and sort of just pop up, which is kind of like Zoom. You just have to have an account. And then you can enter a code or link. So if someone is in a new meeting, so I'm just gonna, I haven't used this, so I'm gonna click a new meeting, and then I can get a meeting link to share. And so you can schedule one, which will send out a link to people. You can get a link to share that's like right in that moment. You can copy and paste it into an email or a text message, or you can start an instant meeting, which will instantly bring it up. So those are the things that you can do with Google Meeting. You can see all these people in here, and I believe that it has screen sharing, but I'm not positive on that. I'm gonna make a note to check on it. And I say that.
It does. I've had to use it with other people.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, cool, yes, perfect. All right, I'm gonna get back to the presentation now. Okay. And then you can add emojis and photos. To send the message, you're going to press enter on your keyboard. And then to send a video chat, you're going to click on the video camera in the chat window. And then when you're finished, you click the red X. So that's usually pretty intuitive for people. The X usually means to exit out, which is nice about Google. So Google Duo is another thing with a Google account or a Gmail account. The thing that to know about Google Duo is there is no screen share in that. It's great for casual use and just talking with people. And what's really fun about it, I think what people like about it, is that you can do doodles and filters on it. It's very phone friendly, which is great. And they've got a web and a phone app that you can use. I know a lot of our students do not have computers, but they do have smartphones. So that's why this might be a good thing to know about, at least to use as a tool at some point. But certainly there are other things to use as well. For example, Zoom has an app that's it's very similar to the desktop version. So it's pretty easy to use if you are familiar with it. And Google Voice, I think, is an important one to talk about. If you want to protect your privacy and you don't want to share your personal phone number with your student, you can follow the prompts to receive a Google phone number. And it'll connect to your personal phone number, but when you call someone from it, the Google phone number will come up, and you can also receive text messages from it, and you can also receive voicemails from it. And what's nice about the voicemails is that it will do a transcription of them, and it'll send it into your voicemail inbox, which is really convenient. So I think that's a good thing to know. It's another thing that's free if you have a Gmail account. So it's just another option for you. So here are some other digital resources that are available. One thing that I think is really awesome is that the people from Intercambio made PowerPoint presentations for all of the confidence and connections levels. So if that is a resource that you're using that we have at the Literacy Council, then we can definitely get you that PowerPoint. And also the Intercambio app that you can download on your phone has all of the audio recordings. And it even has a teacher area where you can find resources to things there too. The Cambridge Ventures has a bunch of resources online. They have a lot of the audio. They have some of the big picture things that are at the beginning of the chapters, and they have additional worksheets and resources as well, which is very cool. And then language learning apps. So I use Duolingo. I'm using it for Spanish. It's really fun. It's very like low stress, and the little owl, just, I find it so cute that it makes me want to do it. That's why I use Duolingo. I know that Carol DeSalto uses Rosetta Stone through the library. Carol, would you mind talking a little bit about your experience with that?
I sure would. I have to confess, George will relate to this. I was really good about studying Spanish. We were in a conversation class together, and then the pandemic hit, and that all kind of fell apart. And I sort of lost my motivation to study Spanish. More recently, I've gone back to Spanish. I started with Duolingo just because, as you said, Jen, I agree with you. It's easy. You can do it in 5-minute segments.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'll do it like if I'm waiting for a friend on a walk, I'll just, instead of going on Facebook or other things that are just a waste of time, I'm now trying to train myself to just do a Duolingo lesson really quickly.
Awesome.
Rosetta Stone is the place where I really get serious about studying. You know, you need like 15 to 30 minutes to sit down and really go through a lesson or two. But that's the place that really teaches me more higher level Spanish, I think. It challenges me, you know, sometimes I really struggle, but you can always go back and do a lesson again. You can do a lesson 3, 4, 6 times. I don't know if I want to do that, but it's very non-judgmental. It will correct you. It works on spelling, it works on writing, it works on really, but the nice thing about Rosetta Stone is the graphics are realistic. They're real pictures, and the situations are, I think, much more realistic. Duolingo is cute, and the little icons are very encouraging. But if you want to get really serious, Rosetta Stone, I think, is a good option too. And the best thing is that Rosetta Stone is very expensive if you buy it, but you can get it free from Mead Public Library. And I think if you are a member of any library in the county, you can do it online.
Thank you. And I think that it's true also for Mango, that if you have a library card, you can use that as well. So those are 3 different options that you have. I know there's more out there. One thing that I learned last week is that Duolingo, I suggested to one of our, we have a Parents as Teachers program where some of our parent educators go into the home and they work with different families and teach them about child development. And sometimes those programs intersect with ours. And so one of those people speak Burmese. And so I suggested that Duolingo to them, but I found out that Duolingo does not have a Burmese program that teaches English, because they haven't had someone who speaks Burmese and English to help them create it yet. So I thought that was interesting. Maybe we can be the forefront of that or something if we get a really great student. But
could I just make one comment? And this is basically more for George, because George, I know you are an avid student of Spanish, but Duolingo also has a podcast where they tell stories in Spanish and then they kind of put it in context. It's a little bit too high level for me, but I know you would be able to manage it. So that might be something you want to look into, George.
Awesome. And I think there's actually, that's a good thing to bring up. There's a lot of podcasts out there if you're trying to learn a language that you can listen to. And of course, there's many, many English speaking podcasts. So if you're trying to find another resource for your students, that could be a great one. What was I saying? Oh, there's a special app for Burmese speakers that are learning English. If you look up Burmese English on your app store, I found it on my iPhone. I'm not sure if it's available for all phones, but I thought it was it's a good thing to know if you do have a Burmese student or a Rohingya student that speaks Burmese. And then in addition to other language learning apps and things, we have a bunch of resources on our website at frc-sc.org. So you can go to the tutor resources, student and tutor resources, and there's a whole bunch of resources up there that you can take a look at, worksheets and things like that. So I encourage you to go and explore that and see what works for you. Great. Okay, so Apples and Androids, using smartphones for virtual learning. So anything to know? Yeah.
Jen, would you do me a favor offline? Would you send me information about the Burmese?
Yeah, of course.
Please, because my wife works with a Rohingya family, and she might find that really helpful.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yep.
So FaceTime is only for Apple users. So if you have an Apple iPhone, you can use it. And what's cool about that is that it uses Wi-Fi, it doesn't use your data, and that's the same for iMessage. And I looked up what iOS means the other day. I knew that OS meant operating system, but I found out that the I means internet. So I thought that I would share that with you so you could be enlightened about that too. On Android, there's Zoom, Google Duo, Google Meet, Google Hangouts, Skype, House Party, all these different apps, and you can also get those for Apple as well. I bring up House Party. It's a very casual app, but it has a lot of games on it, which I think is cool. It's got trivia on it, it's got karaoke and different things like that. So if someone is having trouble staying engaged, it might be a way to kind of trick them into having fun and learning English if you're looking for something that's really casual. So, and texting is another great casual way to keep in touch. And like I said, I think a lot more of our students have smartphones and computers, so that's helpful to know. Okay, so keeping it simple. So if you don't find the annotate tool or something similar like a doodle tool to be easy to use when you're trying to actually teach and not just doodle, you can try a small whiteboard. And we're also getting whiteboards at the Literacy Council so we can give you and your student whiteboards. So you can write on it like you would like a piece of paper, and then you can kind of just show it and have them do it as well. That's something that a lot of classrooms are doing. So we have that available as well. And then I wanted to kind of challenge you to think maybe what are some ideas that you could think of to engage students in new ways virtually. Maybe you've already tried something, or maybe you came up with something during this presentation. And what are some ways that you might infuse your traditional tutoring methods, for those of you who have tutored before, to your virtual tutoring. So feel free to share if you have any ideas, no pressure if you don't.
Well, this is actually something that's not my idea. It was actually given to me by Jim's lovely wife, Deb, who tutors a Burmese lady who's a beginning English speaker. And she showed me how she texted her with using a lot of emojis in the text. And I think all of those different emojis really help her student understand what she was trying to get across. But as Jen was saying, I think a lot of our students really like texts, because what some of the savvy students have figured out is they can copy and paste the text into Google Translate, and then Google Translate will translate the text, and then they can respond back. So that gives them, if you call them, they have to respond and understand what you're saying. But if you text them, they have a much better chance of getting the message or being able to figure it out whatever way they can.
Great, thank you. All right. And sort of my last challenge to you is, what else do you want to know? So I'm compiling a Google Drive digital resources folder that you'll be able to access. This PowerPoint will be in there and all sorts of things. So if you find something helpful that you think the other tutors could find helpful, I'll put that in there as well, and then everyone is able to access it. So just a couple things, and this is all I had for the presentation. So it's good to know that I'm short. I didn't know if I was going to be super long or not. So if you let me know how this was, I would really appreciate it. And if you have any questions or anything, please let me know.
Thank you, Jen.
Thanks, Carol. Thanks, Ned.
Tons of information. Thanks a lot. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to getting the PowerPoint so I can